Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, and today we are going to talk about the biggest bag that I've ever made. The concept for her, she was supposed to be a beach bag. It was supposed to be a nice big oversized bag that you can just stuff in all your things in. I decided to use a t-shirt yarn for her, and unfortunately that sort of backfired because t-shirt yarn is very, very thick as it is, and I double stranded it, so she thick. The person that it was supposed to be for, they live in a beachy state, so I thought it would be a very good sturdy bag for them that they would be able to use often, but I was a little wrong because the smaller version was a better concept versus the bigger version of this, and it being the biggest bag that I've ever made, I was actually very excited to do it, but unfortunately what I had in my head just didn't come to fruition. I have never made a bag this big before. I figured making a beach bag would be something that would be easier. So I used a type of t-shirt yarn that I felt like, the sand would just come off easy. It would be good that you can bring to the beach. I thought it was going to be lighter than expected. So that's why I thought making the oversized version would be good, but it just didn't come out as I pictured in my head. There are a few instances where it looks like there are holes that I skipped stitches, but I did not. So that's another thing. T-shirt yarn is chunky as it is. The double stranding of the yarn was also a bit of a backfire on me, but at the end of the day, she is not that bad of an idea. So I found this really awesome pink peachy kind of color, so I thought it'd be perfect for the beach and for the person that it was going to be for. As I started working it up, I was working it up through the back loop to try to give it a little bit of texture. Don't even ask me what I was doing down here. I thought that I was going to be able to make sort of a bottom since it was going to be a solid color bag, but that was also a backfire. And then also in instances, it looks like I skipped stitches, but it's just holy in that sense. Although this was sort of a backfire sort of project, I really enjoyed making this because it was for my husband's best friend. I was really excited to make it for their birthday. I'm actually filming this on their birthday, but I was really excited to give it to them for their birthday. I thought it was going to be a really cool functional bag for them. I was really excited to see their reaction. Speaking to them, we're going to go in a different direction, so this yarn is not going to go to waste. But speaking to them, they actually did enjoy the look of the bag, so I guess I didn't backfire completely, but the functionality of it is just not going to really work out. Throwing it over your shoulder like this, it's giving fire hose, so it's like you're so I really didn't like that. And then also too, the inside of the bag, it's really huge, but also too, when I was testing it out, I could only fit regular towel in here comfortably, and then I'm thinking as a woman, she needs to store more things when they go to the beach, so that functionality wouldn't work out. I think, I have had projects in the past, as you can see right here, this pineapple bag that I made. I had doubts when I was first making it, so when I first started having doubts about this bag was about midway through the body. I started feeling how heavy it was coming out, and I was starting to doubt, but then I was like, you know what, I should just trust the process. The end result might look really good. Once I got to the portion before I started to make the handle, the weight of the bag really started to become a reality to me. I think the bag all in all took about 12 skeins of yarn, and that's double stranding too. So that is just adding to the thickness. T-shirt yarn works up thick as it is, so I wouldn't really recommend double stranding it for a big bag. Maybe if I was to redo this, I wouldn't double strand it, and it might come out a little bit different, but structurally I don't feel like it's good enough for everyday use. It's a good concept, and I thought it was nice, but it's just not functional. I think the main flaws of this are just the weight of the bag. I weighed her and she actually came out to about 5 pounds even. The weight of the bag is actually too much as it is. When you add stuff, it's just gonna add even more weight to it. So I figured as a woman, not saying anything, but as a smaller woman, that's gonna be a lot. So this is big as it is. Also too, this back loop only stitching. I thought it was gonna add a little bit of texture and I thought it was gonna look nice, but unfortunately it's giving vieja grandma kind of to me. I think the function of it can work if there were a few little tweaks made to it. Good design concept. So for many of you that have seen this bag design concept before, you've seen the smaller bag. It works perfectly for a good little handbag concept. I think it stays structurally sound or structured, whatever the word is. As it gets bigger, it just gets a little bit more floppy. It starts to lose its shape a little bit. As I mentioned before, this chunky strap is really nice for a smaller bag, but when it comes to a bigger bag like this, it's giving firefighter hose. The strap is really heavy. I don't think this project went for naught. Yes, we are going to repurpose this, so we're going to be frogging her, but what I think this taught me the most about is using t-shirt yarn is that it is chunky as you work it up, just single-stranded. So maybe if I would have done it single-stranded, this project would have turned out a little bit differently. I also learned that sheer amount of t-shirt yarn will result in a very heavy product, so you have to really account for weight. So as I get bigger with my projects and as I get bigger with my bags, that's really something that I can start considering, you know, the weight of the actual yarn and the weight of the actual material that I'm using. So when it comes to building something like this in the future or making a big bag design and that sort of concept, maybe using a bottom to make it a little bit more structured, maybe using some handles to, you know, give it some sort of like clasp feature. I don't know. Definitely working with this yarn, I understood that smaller designs or some other concepts that you might use it for won't work for bigger concepts. Yeah, but I feel like this experience would probably discourage a lot of people. But as I said in a few other videos, I really don't mind frogging my projects. I love the creation process, so this is part of learning. You know, you live and you learn from your mistakes. So I really did enjoy making this. At the end of the day, you know, I had an idea in my head and I went for it and it came too light. It just didn't work. But I feel like a lot of fashion and, you know, a lot of things that you see on the runway are kind of like that. You can't wear them in real life. At the end of the day, I was really excited to make this because it was made out of love, but then also too, it was really fun to work with. Definitely when it comes to using this amount of yarn or double stranding it, I will definitely use some hardware. So the next bag that I'm going to be making with this yarn is definitely going to be with some sort of hardware feature to it, so stay tuned. I'm going to possibly be using less yarn, but as I frog her, I'm to keep it double stranded because quite honestly, I don't even know how I would unfrog double-stranded work. The new bag design concept that I have is definitely going to work with the double stranding, especially if I add some structure to it using some hardware features. I honestly was not going to decide to share this, but I really did decide to share this project because at the end of the day, when it comes to the creation process, I think it's really important to show, you know, failures or mistakes. You learn from your mistakes at the end of the day, so that's the most important part. I really think that somebody else seeing this out there might have had the same idea or might have thought the same exact thing. If you go for it and you find a better, you know, sort of design, I appreciate it. Definitely hit me up with that video showing this sort of mistake. Not a failure. It's a good learning experience, not only for me, but other viewers out there. So that way you guys can see, just go big or go home, make those mistakes. And if it doesn't come out the way you wanted to, just go back to the drawing board and it's not the end of the world. Again, I don't mind frogging, so it might be a little controversial for you guys out there. But at the end of the day, you live and you learn, and it's definitely fun. So until the next one, I appreciate you guys. Crochet love.